Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is April 6, 2022, and today is Wednesday morning. So looking at the highlights of today, the U.S. market slide after comments from the Fed. Now later today, we have major economic events scheduled coming out of the United States at 8 p.m. South African time. A follow-up to the last Fed rate decision, FOMC Meeting Minutes, is what's happening tonight. Now looking at the various markets, starting out with the Forex symbols, we're watching the Australian dollar slide and retrace after that major breakout. We spoke about that yesterday. Looking at the indices, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ slide, and looking at commodities, gold and oil pretty much unchanged. And in terms of the stocks, it's the tech stocks that retraced at that resistance. We saw multiple resistance levels being hit, and they're all retracing. Now looking lastly at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin still unchanged. But let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go. We're looking at the Euro USD at a 4-hour chart. You could see it slide down back to its lows. And we're trading right now at 108.97, which is a decent retracement level. Now, this is a 4-hour chart and showing some continued weakness. Now, if this continues to slide, if we look at a longer time frame at a daily, our low is 108.4, and that could really be hit. So just, we're at pre-pandemic levels, and we do have volume to back it up. Now looking at the Gbp Usd, also hovering at that 130-ish level, not bouncing. If we look at a daily, that's really an important level for it to sustain. Otherwise, it could go further down. If we look at a weekly, look at that. I mean, it could break that 130. If it breaks that 130, we're going back to the low 124-ish level. Now, looking at the Australian dollar, this is where it's at, what we spoke about. Yesterday, we had that massive breakout, right, to 76.55, and we're tracing about 50% of that, which is normal, somewhat, okay? These type of breakouts, if they can't sustain themselves, then they may be a fake out breakout, okay? And that's what I'm concerned about right now. So you're looking for it to sustain this level, and if it doesn't, we may see it break out further lower. Now looking at gold, look at that, just doing nothing, hanging around just 1921, unless it breaks 1941 or 1900, it's not going anywhere, okay? It's just trading within a very tight range. Now looking at oil, still in that wedge formation, hasn't changed, okay? We're still in it. Even if we look at it at a longer time frame, you could see it. It's really sustaining this wedge formation. At a certain point, it's going to break out, okay? And when it does, it's going to have a decent move, okay? So potentially it could break out on the upside. Now, looking at the U.S. markets, we're looking at the Dow Jones retracing to 34,500-ish level. And this is, remember, after hitting 35,200. So all intents and purposes, we're retracing about 700 points, which is very decent. I mean, these moves are really severe moves in the markets, okay? So, okay, if we continue selling off, we continue seeing some words of caution from the Fed, we could further sell down, not even a question. Looking at the NASDAQ also, after hitting that high of 15,000, we're trading at 14,798. Now looking at the individual stocks, Apple retraced at that resistance level, 178, didn't even hit the new highs. Facebook did retrace a little bit, obviously. Microsoft retracing at that 315-ish level. Okay, so they're all trading with the markets. Okay, so there's nothing being, any relative strength compared to the markets in general. So this is something of note. Okay, and lastly, looking at JP Morgan also selling off. Now this is really important because this did have a bit of a bounce, but still showing some weakness, and that's disconcerting for one of the largest banks in the United States. Now lastly, looking at Bitcoin, we're trading at 45,329, really not doing much. So the markets are consolidating, okay? They go through a process of trending market, ranging market, and dull market. And that's where we're at right now. Just kind of figure ourselves out in terms of how much of the war in Ukraine is going to spill over to Europe, how this is all going to politically play out. I think there's a lot of caution in the market still and not a lot of optimism. So keep that in mind. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish everybody a great trading day. Thank you.